don't forget your why. Why do you want to do this is important. Why do you want to succeed is important, right? क्योंकि long term में आप क्या career build करना चाहते हैं, आप क्या legacy छोड़ना चाहते हैं. You focus on one thing and you continue to do it for 6, 7, 8 years.
Hello everyone, so today we have the most awaited podcast with Shivee. Everyone wanted to know about HFTs, high frequency trading firms, and they wanted to know about what a quant developer does, what a quant researcher does, and why they are paid so much more than any other CS grad, and why there's a hype among Indian IITs and Indian students. So we will learn about all of that in detail with Shivee because she is a quant researcher. So hi Shivee, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Hernur. Thank you for having me here. Really appreciate it. I'm Shivee. I am a CFA charter holder. So I've completed my charter back in 2017. I've been a charter holder for the past 6 years. I work as a management consultant in quantitative advisory with one of the big fours. So that's what I do as my day job. And I've been doing this for the past 9 years now. So almost a decade coming out. And then I do hold a master's in mathematics of finance from Columbia University. And before that, I did my bachelor's in electronics and communications. I don't know how many ECE candidates are there, ECE people are there, but I do hold a bachelor's in ECE from back in BIT Misra. So that's where I graduated. And I worked with Goldman Sachs for a while, worked with JP Morgan and Chase for a while. And then I said, thoda sa, I want changes because consulting provides you that flexibility to do many projects. So I moved into consulting full time. So that's a little bit about myself. So yeah.
एंड जिनको नहीं पता, शिवी इज अ रिस्क टेकर. उन्होंने इतना करियर चेंज किया है, नॉर्मल स्टूडेंट कैनॉट इवन इमेजिन जितना करियर चेंज लोग एक साल में नहीं सोच पाते, 2 साल में नहीं सोच पाते. यू हैव डन इट मल्टीपल टाइम्स अक्रॉस द करियर ऑफ 9 years. सो कैन यू प्लीज शेयर लाइक योर करियर, हाउ इट इवॉल्व्ड एंड व्हाट वाज योर लर्निंग्स. आप क्यों इतनी बार करियर चेंज करना चाहते थे, एंड व्हाट वाज योर ड्रीम पैशन. आपने अपना पैशन कैसे फिगर आउट किया?
Right. So, Hernur, अब थोड़ा सा बैक स्टोरी में जाते हैं. I think that's always more interesting and people relate to it. And people in India specifically, right, coming from a middle class family, सबका similar dream होता है कि बच्चा इंजीनियर बनेगा, बच्चा डॉक्टर बनेगा. So, when you are in class 10 and you score decent marks and right, so parents will be like कि बायो लेना है कि मैथमेटिक्स लेना है, क्योंकि फिजिक्स और केमिस्ट्री तो तुम्हारा फिक्स है, तो तुमने वही करना है. बाकी पीसीएम करना है कि बायो भी करना है. So that's where you decide कि तुमने इंजीनियरिंग करनी है कि डॉक्टर करना है, right? So there is no third option. So मेरे साथ ऐसा था कि I really enjoyed commerce. And I really enjoyed mathematics as a subject, but just given that कि सारे बच्चे यही कर रहे हैं, आप PCM ही कर रहे हैं, तो आप IIT की तैयारी कीजिए, right? So that was the mindset that you come from a middle class family कि this is the best way to get a job and to get a well-paying job so that you're well settled. Our parents are looking for some kind of tenor कि कि हाँ ये फिक्स हो जाएगा, सेफ्टी नेट आ जाएगा, and then you can continue to do that job and for so on and so forth. And my father did the same job for 36 years, right? He was on the same job for 36 years, which tells you a little bit about how things have evolved so far. So अगर मैंने 2010 में computer science किया होता, तो things have changed so much that if I go back to engineering right now, it would be completely different. So things are changing so quickly that if we as young professionals do not adapt that quickly, then we are going to be left behind. मतलब आप एक ही जगह दौड़ रहे हैं और आप वहीं रह जाएंगे और सारे लोग आगे चले जाएंगे, right? So you're like still. So if you do not continue to evolve and continue to learn new things and continue to see कि बाहर क्या हो रहा है and change according to that, then there is less probability of you succeeding long term. And I always see a career as a marathon कि 40-50 साल का career है, 40-50 years you have to continue to do that, and to do that you have to at least enjoy what you're doing at least 3 to 4 days out of 5 days, right? So आप सुबह उठ के आपको ऐसा लगना चाहिए कि हाँ कुछ बढ़िया होने वाला है आज लाइफ में, right? So that's the adventure that I look forward to, and that's why I continue to find out new and new things कि कहाँ इंडस्ट्री जा रही है, क्या बिजनेस हो रहा है, and mix it and marry it with your skill set and what you are interested in. So that keeps me going and that continues to make me focused. Now, I started my career as an engineer in Goldman Sachs. राइट. सो आप जब इंजीनियर होते हो तो आपके पास ज्यादा ऑप्शंस, मतलब टू जॉइन अ फाइनेंशियल कंपनी, यू you just can get into the technology roles, right? So that will be, and that is a great starting point, क्योंकि when you're already there, you get to look at the business, you get to look at the domain. फाइनेंस के बारे में तो मुझे कुछ भी नहीं पता था, राइट? मुझे बस सिंगल शेयर्स पता था कि ये सेंसेक्स होता है, उसमें 30 शेयर्स होते हैं, एंड दैट्स इट, राइट? दैट्स ऑल आई न्यू अबाउट द स्टॉक मार्केट और कैपिटल मार्केट्स.
तो आप तब
So
इंजीनियर थे ना?
हाँ.
आप इंजीनियर थे बट यू स्टिल टुक इंटरेस्ट साइड बाय साइड.
So I did not really take interest, Harnoor, in the company itself. I took interest in the pay. तो पैसा अच्छा था, right? So when you're starting, when you are in a loan. So I did my undergrad with a loan, right? I was under a loan of 4 lakhs at the time. तो आपको ऐसा चाहिए जॉब की जिसमें आपका लोन भी वापस पे हो पाए. And you know, you earning a little bit, you are trying to get to the next level. So Goldman was day zero in our campus, or day zero company मतलब अच्छा खासा है, you know. So when you get into that, so you're getting paid well, and eventually that's when my interest developed a little bit more in finance. क्योंकि at the time I was doing equities technology, which is under, you know, high frequency trading, algorithmic trading. So I was actually creating models for algorithmic trading and HFT. और जब मैं कर रही थी, you know, then I didn't realize कि इतना significant है ये काम. But eventually when I moved on, and when I started to look at it from a bird's eye view, थोड़ा पीछे होके देखा कि, you know, क्या कर रहे हैं. So then you realize कि you're working with, you know, dark pools. Very interesting concept which people in quant finance would know. And so that was the journey, and that's what pushed me कि engineering से काम नहीं चलेगा, थोड़ा सा कुछ additional भी करना पड़ेगा, right? You have to understand the market, you have to understand कि options क्या होते हैं, you know, and how do you price them. So all of these things start to become more significant and important. So that was my journey in terms of going from engineering, which was a core technology analyst role, into learning more about finance, and then eventually transitioning into a quantitative analysis field.
इसे क्या डिस्क्राइब करेंगे? क्वांट रिसर्च करेंगे डिस्क्राइब?
मैं quant analyst हूँ. So I work a lot with, say, pricing models. कि आपके पास options हैं, तो options तो easy है price करना, right? It's all on the stock exchange. It's a very standardized commodity right now. पर जैसे कि आपके पास exotic options हैं, तो उसके अंदर थोड़े से और features हो सकते हैं. And you know, a quant analyst would know all of these things कि वो थोड़ा सा different contract होता है. So how do you price those? And आपने पीडीए पढ़ा होगा, राइट? पार्शियल डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशंस, एंड आपने कैलकुलस पढ़ा होगा. पर दिस इज द नेक्स्ट लेवल. दिस इज स्टोकेस्टिक कैलकुलस, व्हिच इज ऑलमोस्ट डीलिंग विद ब्राउनियन मोशन. तो वो थोड़ा सा काफी क्वांटिटेटिव हैवी है. It's a very mathematical heavy degree and a mathematical heavy field, right? So that's just a little bit different. But generally what I do is pricing models. I do algorithmic models, I do high frequency models. So that is my expertise, but also going into now compliance and fraud. So that's what I do.
Got it. And अगर इसको अच्छे से अंडरस्टैंड करना हो द रोल ऑफ क्वांट एनालिस्ट, तो फाइनेंस की दो पार्ट्स होते हैं, क्वालिटेटिव साइड एंड क्वांटिटेटिव साइड. एंड अगर हम दोनों को समझना चाहें एंड व्हाट एक्चुअली क्वांट इज, कैन यू प्लीज एक्सप्लेन इन सिंपल टर्म्स?
तो हरनोट, थोड़ा सा एक और अपन थोड़ा सा स्टेप बैक करते हैं, राइट? सो लेट्स टॉक अबाउट, लेट्स से गोल्डमैन. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट सिटी बैंक, राइट? सिटी बैंक इज अ बिग बैंक. उसके दो पार्ट्स हैं. एक पार्ट है कमर्शियल बैंकिंग, विच इज रिटेल बैंकिंग, जिसमें कि आप डिपॉजिट्स करते हैं, लोन्स मिलते हैं, राइट? सो दैट्स योर ब्रिक एंड मोर्टार बिजनेस. अभी एटीएम वगैरह भी है. सो दैट्स योर रिटेल बैंकिंग. द अदर पार्ट इज इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग, राइट? सो इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग जो है, उसमें अलग अलग प्रकार की चीजें होती हैं. So investment banking में you could be doing prop trading, which is proprietary trading. थोड़ा सा कम हो गया है, पर even then, right? So उसमें आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि you can create your own strategies. The companies create their own strategies and try to find out alpha. Alpha meaning कि return क्या है. जैसे कि हम लोग अभी देखें, अगर ट्रेजरी हम लोग देखते हैं, उसके इंटरेस्ट रेट्स बढ़ते जा रहे हैं. So अगर आपको वो रिटर्न मिल रहा है, जैसे कि 5% है फॉर एग्जांपल, इजी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए, तो अगर आप 5% के ऊपर और 2% बना सकते हैं, राइट? 7% बना सकते हैं. सो देन दैट स्ट्रेटजी इज वर्थ गोइंग आफ्टर, राइट? दैट स्ट्रेटजी इज वर्थ परस्यूइंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ की कैपिटल एनालिसिस में, है ना? तो दैट इज वन पार्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग. द अदर पार्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग विच अ लॉट ऑफ एक्चुअली कंपनीज डू, जैसे कि एक एयरलाइन है. एयरलाइन को अपना प्लेन उड़ाना है ना? उन्हें इस वोलेटिलिटी में नहीं जाना कि पेट्रोल का प्राइस कैसे फ्लक्चुएट हो रहा है। अगर आज का पेट्रोल का प्राइस है $100, कल का है $120, तो कंपनी तो उसके हिसाब से दे कांट मैनेज देयर टिकटिंग, राइट, एंड दे कांट मैनेज देयर वोलेटिलिटी। सो दे विल कम टू एन इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक, लाइक से दे कम टू सिटी बैंक एंड दे से कि आप मेरे को एक ऐसा प्रोडक्ट बना के दो जिसमें कि वी कम टू अ प्राइस इन टर्म्स ऑफ अ कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड प्राइस फॉर ऑयल, कि मैं आपको इतना ही पैसा दूंगा और आप मुझे इतना ही ऑयल दोगे, राइट। सो दैट इज समथिंग लाइक अ फ्यूचर्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और अ फॉरवर्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। सो इस टाइप के काफी सारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स बनते हैं, right? So that is one part of investment banking. फिर उसके अलावा ट्रेडिंग हम बात कर चुके हैं, ट्रेडिंग होती है। Now there is also something called counterparty risk. Now counterparty risk में क्या होता है, जैसे सिटी बैंक है और बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका है, दो बड़े बड़े बैंक्स हैं, आपस में दे आर फॉर्मिंग अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। बट अगर मेजोरिटी ऑफ सिटी बैंक का जो क्रेडिट रिस्क है, दैट इज बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका, एंड बोफा फेल्स, तो सिटी बैंक माइट गो अंडर, right? Because they have a big credit risk or a risk of not being able to get their assets back from Bank of America. तो ये concentration risk होता है, एक credit risk type of चीज होती है, right? So there are two things. There is trading book and there is banking book. Now trading book में क्या होगा कि ये pricing होता है, like all of these contracts are priced like we just talked about, a very basic contract, but there are contracts like that. और banking book mein you manage the credit risk, that which counterparties are you most exposed to and how do you manage your credit risk. So 2008 was a classic failure of credit risk failure, right? So usme kya hua ki there were a lot of loans made to individuals
Not
which
qualified.
had
Yeah.
not qualified, right?
Yeah.
So that was the 2008, and that's what, so quant researcher, quant analyst दोनों जगह हो सकता है, right? They could be running models on anywhere within the bank. So from across the bank आप as a quantitative analyst कहीं भी काम कर सकते हो. Now there will be different asset classes as well. So equities, fixed income, right? ये सारी तो थोड़ी easy है, हमने सुनी है कि ये bonds होते हैं, ये stocks होते हैं, पर उसके अलावा भी और asset classes होती हैं, जैसे कि there might be commodities, right? There is alternative investments. तो उस सब का जो pricing है, that is again different. उसकी टीम ही अलग रहेगी, राइट? एक्विटीज की टीम अलग रहेगी क्योंकि उसके रिस्क फैक्टर्स अलग हैं, इंटरेस्ट रेट वालों के रिस्क फैक्टर्स थोड़े अलग हैं. सो दैट्स हाउ द टीम्स आर आल्सो स्ट्रक्चर्ड. सो quantitative analysis या quantitative research is just not limited to one team कि बस ऐसे चार लोग हैं and that's it. It will be across the investment bank. All the trading desks are going to need quants क्योंकि उन्हें अपनी चीजें प्राइस करवानी है. It's not listed on the stock exchange. जैसे आज गूगल का प्राइस हमें पता है, पर गूगल का अगर ये एग्जॉटिक ऑप्शन है तो उसका क्या प्राइस होगा, दिस इज समथिंग दैट ओनली अ मार्केट मेकर कैन गिव यू. सो दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर. मतलब उसको और इजीली कैसे समझाया जाए ये मुझे आइडिया नहीं है, पर दिस इज मेजॉरिटी बिजनेस साइड में ऐसे चीजें, दैट्स हाउ इट इज रन.
दैट एक्सप्लेन्स लॉट अबाउट द बिहाइंड द सीन्स. हमें इतनी चीज़ें बिल्कुल भी पता नहीं चलती. और एडिंग ऑन टू योर पॉइंट कि हर चीज़ इवॉल्व होती है, यू हैव टू कीप लर्निंग. जैसे अगर अभी की मार्केट देख लिया जाए वर्सेस लास्ट ईयर किसी भी एवरेज कंप्यूटर साइंस स्टूडेंट्स को लोग उठा रहे थे कि आज बन जाओ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर विदाउट looking into niche speciality. पर अभी इस ईयर देर आर सो मेनी डेवलपर्स, लिमिटेड जॉब, तो सिर्फ स्पेशलिटी वालों को ही उठा रहे हैं बिकॉज इट्स अबाउट डिमांड एंड सप्लाई एंड एवरी ईयर मार्केट चेंजेस. और इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्वांट आपके ख्याल से किसकी हाइप ज़्यादा है, किस जॉब की हाइप ज़्यादा है, किसकी डिमांड ज़्यादा है, सो दैट स्टूडेंट कैन गेट एन आइडिया कि यहाँ पे हमें टारगेट करना चाहिए.
हरडूर, जैसे मैं एग्जांपल हमेशा ही देती हूँ, राइट? यू कैन हैव अ नाइफ और तुम उससे फ्रूट भी काट सकते हो. यू कैन कट वेजिटेबल्स ऑल्सो, राइट? यू कैन गेट अ फ्रूट सैलड एंड यू कैन गेट अ वेजिटेबल सैलड. सो इट्स important to define your domain. That so I always look at your CS degree or any degree that we hold as a toolkit that we can utilize to solve relevant problems, relevant in terms of कि आपको लगता है it's relevant to where you want to go, in what field are you interested in, या फिर relevant to the world, right? कि थोड़ा कुछ useful होना चाहिए. जैसे healthcare is a very useful domain, right? Finance is of course a very useful domain क्योंकि it allows the capital to flow from the people who have it to the people who want it to create something interesting and something meaningful. So this is how I always define कि हाँ, आप एक CS डिग्री हो सकती है आपके पास में, बट देन व्हाट आर यू ट्राइंग टू सॉल्व फॉर, राइट? नोबडी इज गोइंग टू आस्क यू टू प्रिंट हेलो वर्ल्ड, राइट? सो ठीक है, आपको डायनेमिक प्रोग्रामिंग आती है, बट देन what about it? Like, how do you utilize it to solve problems? So that's the key. Now, specifically, finance as a domain allows you to use your technology skills in multiple ways, and not just as a quant researcher or a quant analyst. इसमें आप अगर verticals देखें, so there is a heavy demand in, say, risk engineering segment of this, right? So business side तो एक चीज हो गई जिसमें you have desk quants that are working with the desks to provide those market prices that should be quoted to your counterparties. पर एक रिस्क भी होता है कि जो आगे वाली डेस्क है वो बहुत ज्यादा तो कैपिटल नहीं लगा दे रही, राइट? और आर देयर मॉडल्स एक्यूरेट? So really challenging that part कि हाँ आपके models accurate हैं. So this is the risk engineering part of it, where you come up with risk modeling which really look at your VAR, so value at risk calculations, कि आपकी इस time पे कितनी value at risk है, or maybe expected shortfall, and then define and using data to define those models and seeing your कि आप कितना पैसा कितनी प्रोबेबिलिटी पे लूज कर सकते हो. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो अ गुड स्किल सेट टू हैव. उसमें आपको थोड़ा स्टेटिस्टिक्स आना चाहिए. मैथमेटिक्स का पार्ट है स्टेटिस्टिक्स, बट मैथमेटिक्स एंड स्टेटिस्टिक्स इज द की. एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स now just running with data, because data is huge. So how do you work with huge data set? That is also an important requirement for these kind of roles. Or of course coding, though it's one of the key requirements. So it has to be either, you have to know either Python. Python is a good starting good starting language. It's not very technical क्योंकि उसमें काफी सारी libraries already existing है, so you can just utilize those libraries. और उसके अलावा you maybe knowing C++ helps a little bit, but if you're going in the algorithmic trading or high frequency trading, because there you require low latency. Baki Python mein, you don't require real life, real time data analysis, right? So उसमें Python भी चल जाती है. So that's how I would define the skill set कि आपको क्या जरूरी है. It's a mix of engineering you should know, but then of course risk also. How do you quantify risk? How do you work with risk? What is risk? All of this also you should know.
So when you said desk quant, उसका exact मतलब क्या है?
So desk quant meaning that आपका एक trader होगा, right? So traders, when you say a trader, the trader might be trading an equities product, or he might be trading an FX product, right? Or he might be trading a different sort of commodity product. तो ये सारी desks define होती हैं. And for each of these desks, you have a team of quants supporting them, which will not be too many. It will be a team of 2 or 3 people at max who will be supporting that desk to provide those quotes to these different traders, right? So even when we think कि हाँ trading हो रही है, but in what is the product that you're trading? That is also important. And as an outsider, it's difficult for us to really identify कि क्या product है.
That makes sense. And जैसे आपने बोला ना कि risk analysis बहुत चाहिए, इस कारण काफ़ी quant companies and trading firms they prefer PhD students for research. So what is your opinion? आपने बताया ना कि हम एक डिग्री नाइफ की तरह है, उसको आप किसी भी तरह किसी भी चीज़ को काट सकते हो depending on how sharp you are in that area. So उस तरीके से how you can use just CS to become a researcher, and क्या PhD important है?
So PhD हरनूर is important. Generally आप देखेंगे कि interviews होना easier है. Like it's easier to get interviews if you do have a PhD. So there are many professional degrees that are also offered, right? Like something that I hold, a master's in mathematics of finance, जो कि काफी professional degree है. And then there is a possibility of you getting into these firms or getting interviews at least at these firms using that degree. So it is not required that you have to have a PhD. But then PhD is a useful tool set or a toolkit, क्योंकि PhD में क्या होता है ना कि you get that research mindset. So आप PhD कर रहे हैं 4-5 years तक, and you basically researching. So that's all you get into, and you become really good at that skill. So a team would be made very specifically जब आपके पास सारे skill set हो, right? So you should have skill set of talking to the traders as well. You should have skill set of talking to your risk team. You should have skill set कि आप सारे stakeholders को manage कर सकें. But at the same time, you also need people with in-depth skill set of actually running, say there is a new model, completely kind of new model, then you need that kind of expertise. तो जो overall team होगा, there is place for everybody, right? There is place for a great coder, क्योंकि some people are very very good at coding, right? And they'll create low latency platforms. Some people are very good at working with data. Some people are very good with talking to your client or stakeholder. You're understanding कि business क्या चाह रहा है, right? So that is also one of the key requirements. So it really depends कि आपका क्या उसमें what is your positives or your advantages that you bring, strength you bring to the table. अगर आपका strength PhD में है, research में है, and not just any, computer science, physics, economics, mathematics, statistics, right? These are the five major PhD holders that you will see in this field. तो अगर आपका इन पांचों में से कुछ भी है, or operational research as well, but which is very similar to statistics. तो आप एक research वाले deep role में जा सकते हैं, but your team will have everyone, because that is key to running a successful team and to continue to run successful models and successful desk.
So expertise बहुत ज़्यादा important है, and when you mention handling high frequency, so if we have to understand the high frequency part, आप समझा सकते हो why there is importance of high frequency trades and इसे जल्दी जल्दी हैंडल करना क्यों ज़रूरी होता है? Like if let's say कि आज बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रेड्स हो रहे हैं, if we do it tomorrow, like if we don't handle the data today, थोड़ा सा अगर ब्रेक ले लेंगे, what will be the effect on market if you have to understand HFTs from basics?
So HFT is now, that is a completely different ball game, Harnu, right? So some of the sell side firms are not even in the business of HFTs. Majority जो इसमें होता है buy side firms होते हैं, and buy side firms would be something like, say, a hedge fund. And hedge fund will have strategies as to, and HFT is actually one of their strategies to capture that alpha that we were talking about. कि आपने $100 एक treasury में डाला, आपको 5% पे 105 मिल सकता है, but can you create an HFT trade to get, say, a 2% delta on that? So क्या आप उसमें 7% कमा सकते हो, right? Instead of that 5%. So HFT is almost like a strategy to capture that alpha from the market.
Maximum
Now,
return in terms,
maximum
right?
rate. Yeah, we call it the alpha, and you will see there is a blog also called Seeking Alpha. So that's exactly what it talks about, right? And this is the alpha it talks about. कि हाँ treasury 5% दे रहा है, पर इसके ऊपर क्या है? What is above risk-free return? So this is what high frequency is now. High frequency trading, why is it important? Is just a strategy that a lot of firms employ. There can be other hedge fund strategies as well that they employ, which are not HFT, right? So, पर HFT में main requirement C or C++ का है, because C++, as a CS graduate, you would know you can actually maintain memory, and you can play with memory using C++. So, which really optimizes your code for
It's really
low
fast.
latency.
बहुत
Yeah.
फास्ट है. अगर आप बहुत बहुत ही फास्ट एल्गोरिदम रन करना चाहते हो अंडर 500 नैनो सेकेंड्स, वो सी
Yeah.
प्लस प्लस सबसे ज्यादा फास्ट होगा, एंड इट कैन मेक इट पॉसिबल, माइट नॉट बी पॉसिबल एट ऑल विद पाइथन.
Yeah, exactly. So, अगर आप HFT target करना चाहते हैं, so C and C++ is the key requirement. Like they will be judging you for your C++ expertise, and then of course strategies भी उसमें उसके बाद में आती हैं कि how do you strategize to maintain those strategies and create a delta. Yeah.
एंड इस जॉब को क्या कहेंगे जो लो लेवल पे क्वांट में काम करता है? Is quant
Sorry.
developer, is that a quant developer or that's different?
Yeah,
HFT
you
developer?
you can call them quant developer. तो सारे title हैं, Arnav, right? So eventually, you can call anybody anything. So there are different companies, for example, who have quant analysis teams, like quant analyst teams in their risk, and they call it risk engineering. So it is almost similar to what we were talking about, कि उनके पास statistics भी है, mathematics भी है, and coding expertise भी है. So they are actually developers who also know statistics and mathematics, but then they just call them something else, right? They call them risk engineers. So it's a little bit industry specific. Title कुछ भी हो सकता है, but majority of the work will have to do with, say, modeling, or will have to do with coding, will have to do with really understanding the financial markets.
Got it. And आपने ये तो बताया कि when you were at Goldman, you got introduced to quant and the idea of becoming a quant engineer. जब आपको पता भी नहीं था, there's a huge hype possibly later. But
Yeah.
what made you stay in this field? How it became a passion so you can pursue as a long-term career?
So, Hanu, multiple things happened, since I started my journey. So, I started in 2013. I started my Columbia, right? And then 14, I graduated. Eventually joined a big investment bank later on, and then a management consulting firm later on. So, काफी सारे changes हुए हैं in the past 10 years, right? So, I've been a decade almost in this field. अब क्या हो रहा है कि data science is also taking forefront in not only outside in technology firms but also within this firm, within this space. So कुछ नया हो रहा है which continues to keep me involved and continues to keep me interested, right? So as I explained to you earlier कि um, as a young professional, you have to continue to evolve and continue to learn new things and do new things to be relevant for the next 40 years, 50 years. So that is what something that keeps me excited about quant research, that there's just so much to do and so many different things that you can pursue and so many different things that you can contribute to and continue to build upon. So that is definitely a plus, when coming into a quant advisory or a quant analyst, an analyst role. And then of course, as you become better at something, so आपको कॉन्फिडेंस भी आता है और फिर मजा भी आने लगता है, राइट? सो let's say you start drawing and then you one day you're really bad at it. Like I was really bad at when I started, but eventually when you continue to do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you start to become better. And कुछ चीज अच्छे से होती है तो वो करने में मजा आता है, राइट? सो आई थिंक ऑलवेज पैशन थोड़ा सा ओवररेटेड है. It's always a long term game, that whatever you continue to learn on and continue to learn about, you start continue to become good at it. और दूसरी चीज ये है नूर कि एज अ यंग प्रोफेशनल, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स व्हाट वी थिंक कि पढ़ाई हो गई अभी, we don't have to do anything anymore. So, which I take a very different viewpoint on. I at least try to read one or two textbooks every year, right, with newer relevant subjects, ताकि learning कभी stop नहीं हो. Like I can always continue to build something new and continue to bring something new to the table. ऐसा नहीं कि same वही चीज किए जा रहे हैं and then you get bored if you're doing the same thing over and over. So that's a key requirement for any field. And I would not even say, पहले क्या होता था कि डॉक्टर्स में ऐसा कहा जाता था कि मेडिकल फील्ड में काफी चीजें चेंज हो रही हैं, आप सर्जरी परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं तो अब नई तरीके से सर्जरी, 50 years wherever till आप डॉक्टर हैं आपको पढ़ते रहना पड़ेगा. आई थिंक इट्स रेलेवेंट टू एवरी फील्ड राइट नाउ कि आप आज सोएंगे, 1 साल बाद उठेंगे तो चीजें चेंज हो गई होंगी, राइट? लाइक देन यू हैव टू कम टू टर्म्स अगेन, थोड़ा सा तेज भागना पड़ेगा टू लर्न अगेन, एंड फिर से आप थोड़ा स्टॉप हुए तो फिर से चीजें चेंज हो जाएंगी. सो आई थिंक इट्स अ की रिक्वायरमेंट कि आप जो भी फील्ड में है, आपने स्टार्ट किया है तो पैशन तो ठीक है, एक चीज है, पर अगर आपने स्टार्ट किया है तो कम से कम उसे 3-4 साल तो दीजिए, राइट? एटलीस्ट वर्क टुवर्ड्स इट फॉर 3 to 4 years, कंटिन्यू टू पुट एफर्ट इनटू इट फॉर 3 to 4 years, एंड इवेंचुअली आप इतने अच्छे हो जाएंगे उस चीज में कि यू विल कंटिन्यू टू एंजॉय and continue to have at least 3 to 4 days. Joe, I was saying ki you're enjoying your work at least 3 to 4 days in a week, and that's a win.
Absolutely, and the key is to adapt and evolve. And those who don't know, Shivee has been continuously evolving and learning. आपके टाइम पे आपने बताया कि आप बुक्स से पढ़ा करते थे to continuously evolve, and तब कोर्सेज का इतना ट्रेंड नहीं था. नाउ पीपल आर लर्निंग थ्रू ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज. क्या अभी भी आप बुक्स प्रेफर करते हो कि आप ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज लेते हो?
So, Harnu, now I have a very different approach to learning, right? And uh, at least I study well better with textbooks, and that's what you'll see कि मेरे desk पे भी, I'll have CFA FRM का books, because I just like to go back to the text that is useful. And I think textbooks काफी relevant रहते हैं. And exactly that's why even after doing my masters in 2014, I thought कि continued learning important hai, and I work better with a structured form of learning. So I thought, what is a better thing to do with my time, right? And the other thing, Harnoor, is कि आपने course किया, for example, from any of these big companies, उसको resume पे आप लिखना, it's not going to get you interviews, right? You will just be doing it for learning. It is not going to add to your CV. So in order to do that, I thought कि CFA किया जाए या FRM किया जाए, like let's do either one or the other. And since I work in financial risk, both of this was relevant. So I said कि CFA थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा challenging है, and थोड़ा tough competition करके, you get confident. So I said CFA करते हैं. So I started my CFA after graduating, in fact, from with my masters, with my job. And I was
And
also
आप
nine.
एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हो सीएफए होता क्या है? क्योंकि आप बच्चों को ना सर्टिफिकेट्स का बहुत शौक है. सो
Yeah.
टू क्लैरिफाई कि अगर आप कोर्स करते हो आपको एक सर्टिफिकेट मिलता है, पर उसकी इतनी वैल्यू नहीं है जितनी सीएफए की है. एंड व्हाट इज एग्जैक्टली सीएफए?
So CFA is it's a chartered financial analyst. That's the charter holder that you receive after completing. So क्या three level test है. So you have three examinations. It's a test of portfolio management basically. So CFA आप देखेंगे काफी सारे portfolio management firms में आपको you'll find CFAs who are managing portfolios for say mutual funds, right? Or managing portfolios for pensioners, right? तो ये सारे जो roles हैं पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट के, इवन फॉर हाई नेट इंडिविजुअल्स HNIs, आपको पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर्स मिलेंगे. सो CFA इज बेसिकली दैट डिग्री, or that professional certification, not a degree, right? As a professional certification, three part test which you could take. At least in my time, you could take it in written format. So that's what I did, and then you need. At my time, you required 48 months of relevant work experience to get the charter. But now you require 36 months of relevant work experience, which is three years of relevant work experience in a financial services firm to get that CFA charter. तो उसका पॉजिटिव क्या है हरनूर, कि अभी मैं शिवी चौहान कॉमा CFA लिख सकती हूँ, राइट? सो इट कैन बी in my credentials, that it can just be there, versus आप एक कोई कोर्स करते हैं from a website, let's say, right, any of these course websites, वो आपको सर्टिफिकेट देता है, पर what's the relevance of that certificate? I really question that. क्योंकि आप जैसे, ठीक है, आपने सर्टिफिकेट किया, आप इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं, एंड देन मे बी यू कैन यूज दैट लर्निंग, तो उस सर्टिफिकेट का कुछ वैल्यू है,
जी.
right? But if you hold a CFA or FRM, which is a world renowned certificate accepted by the professionals, on your resume, तो अगर दो resume है, तो maybe you have a high probability of getting that interview. So that is the difference that it makes, right? An interviewer is unlikely or less likely to give a damn, basically, right? To put it harshly, about any of these certifications that you might have done in your free time. It's what is more relevant is learning. कि हाँ, मतलब मेरा तो ये मानना है कि अगर आप एक प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट उसमें जा रहे हैं इंटरव्यू में, एंड if you can create a prototype of a product that you have thought about, it's more relevant and more useful to the interviewer, rather than showing कि आपने एक product management का एक 4 hour का course किया हुआ है कहीं से, या certification किया हुआ है. So that
Absolutely.
brings in more value. And similarly कि आप जो भी जिस भी चीज में आप टाइम स्पेंड करें, यू हैव टू थिंक थ्रू कि आपकी गोल से वो अलाइन होता है कि नहीं. देयर इज ऑलवेज अ करंट स्टेट एंड अ टारगेट स्टेट. विद अ कंसल्टेंट आप ये सुनेंगे कि आप करंट से टारगेट पे कैसे जाएंगे. सो देयर इज दिस गैप एनालिसिस, एंड अ कोर्स will help you maybe do interview well, but it will not get you the interview. So that's the difference between doing a CFA FRM, which is a professional certification course, versus कि आप एक कोई कोर्स कर लें. And CQF as well, right? CQF is very, very good.
वो सीक्यूएफ क्या होता है? उसकी फुल फॉर्म क्या है?
So it's Certified Quantitative Financial Analyst, right? Or finance. I'm not certain, but it's quantitative financial, right? You will read about stochastic calculus. You'll read about partial differential equations again. So it's very statistics and mathematics heavy. So it's a like जैसे आपने अगर CS किया और आपको इस डिग्री इसमें जाना है, इन इंडिया, क्योंकि इंडिया में मैथमेटिक्स एंड फाइनेंस के कोर्सेज नहीं है, या हैं भी तो काफी लिमिटेड है. तो यू कैन जस्ट डू अ CQF, एंड देन you get to learn almost the same things that you would study at a master's in mathematics or finance degree. So CQF is also relevant to get into quantitative research. CFA, portfolio management, to understand the financial products better. अगर आप कहीं इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं, right? Are you interviewing with one of the big investment banks or interviewing with a hedge fund? CFA की थोड़ी books पढ़ लीजिए, तो you will understand the products a little bit better, and you'll understand the models a little bit better. तो आपकी understanding better हो जाएगी. So that's the difference. Yeah.
एंड इंडिया में ज्यादा क्या कॉमन है? यूएस में क्या ज्यादा कॉमन है, सीएफए या फिर सीक्यूएफ?
It depends कि आपको कौन से फील्ड में जाना है. So in US, because masters in mathematics or finance, या quant finance, या risk management, operations research, kind of masters are so common. तो यहाँ पर you will get professionals who hold these degrees. So obviously CQF is useful, but ये सारे master's degrees would take a little bit precedence over somebody who just holds a CQF. Versus India में, there are literally, if you do a bachelor's in mathematics or a master's in mathematics, MSc in mathematics, that's more relevant, right? And generally you will not find those kind of candidates that who have done MS in mathematics or MSc in physics. तो आपने अगर bachelor's in CS किया है and you want to move into this field, your coding skills are great, then you can do a CQF. So CQF then would be more common in India.
एंड इसका मतलब है कि आप क्या क्या जॉब कर सकते हो. आपने बताया यू कैन हैंडल फाइनेंसेस विद सीएफए एंड और सीक्यूएफ डिपेंडिंग ऑन वेयर यू आर. तो इसका मतलब है कि इफ आई वांट टू बिकम एन इंडिपेंडेंट कंपनी एंड आई वांट टू हायर क्लाइंट्स एंड हैव क्लाइंट्स, सो कैन आई जस्ट हैव अ वेबसाइट एंड कह सकता हूँ कि मैं आपका पोर्टफोलियो मैनेज करूंगा एंड आपको गारंटी 20% रिटर्न दूंगा. इज दैट
No.
पॉसिबल? सो व्हाट डज
No,
सीएफए
no,
गिव
no.
यू डायरेक्टली?
Yeah, no, no, no. That is something that is so उसके लिए अलग-अलग countries में there is, because it is OPI, other people's money, OPM, OPM, right? It is other people's money. So money is a very important thing. It's it's one of the most important things for almost everybody, right? So now that being said, आपको ethically you have to take tests, right? You have to take ethics tests if you want to become like an investment advisor, right? Or if you want to even help individuals. So, for example, I hold a CFA, पर ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं जाकर किसी को बोल सकती हूँ कि आप ये ट्रेड कर लो या आप वो ट्रेड कर लो, right? I require written approval or have to be a registered investment advisor to provide that kind of service, right? तो अलग-अलग kind of bodies हैं, regulatory bodies that will help कि आपको, जैसे इंडिया में सेबी है, so it is regulated by SEBI. You have to be a registered investment advisor under SEBI if you're working with individuals for their portfolio management. या अगर आपकी कंपनी है तो also you have to be registered with SEBI, ताकि आप कुछ fraud करें तो they have something to catch, somebody to catch. ऐसा नहीं कि बस the fraud so common basically in finance. The other thing, US में there are FINRA exams that you will have to take year over year कि आपने कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं किया है, and you have to continue to prove that you're ethically performing at a level, right? You're not doing any kind of jholmol. So that's also important. So CFA is a prereq to manage portfolios. Say you get to learn the theory and you get to learn the practicality. आप अपना portfolio manage कर सकते हो. So that is something that you can do. But to actually do it for other people, even if you join as a portfolio manager in any of these companies, you have to take these FINRA tests and you have to take them on a year by year basis, right? कि ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार ethics proof करके छोड़ दिया. You have to prove that you are operating at par with a registered investment advisor on a year by year basis, and even in India. So there is SEBI registration.
वेरी नाइस. एंड बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिल रहा है आपसे. कैन यू प्लीज शेयर हाउ सीएफए हैज हेल्प्ड इन योर करियर? क्योंकि अगर एक स्टूडेंट है, उसने डेटा साइंस की, उसे जॉब में मिल गई, हाउ सीएफए कैन हेल्प इन देयर करियर एंड हाउ इट हैज हेल्प्ड यू?
So because I work in finance as a field and I like structured way of working, that's why I thought ki CFA might provide me a better coursework in terms of learning the a little bit theory of finance. So domain काफी important है, right? So if somebody is working in data science, they're working with say a man company, तो उन्हें जरूरत नहीं है सीएफए करने की, बिकॉज दे ऑलरेडी आर वर्किंग इन अ फील्ड जिसमें उनको अच्छा एक्सपर्टीज है, उनकी अच्छी पकड़ है, एंड व्हाट माइट हेल्प देम माइट बी एडब्ल्यूएस सर्टिफिकेशंस. सो वो ज्यादा रेलेवेंट रहेगा उनके लिए, राइट? सो इट रियली डिपेंड्स कि आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं. आप चेन्नई जा रहे हैं, आप दिल्ली जा रहे हैं, राइट? इफ यू चेंज डायरेक्शंस तो फिर आपको थोड़ा रूट चेंज करना पड़ेगा. पर अदरवाइज इफ यू नो कि दिल्ली ही जाना है तो आपको रूट चेंज करने की जरूरत नहीं, राइट? यू डोंट हैव टू लुक एट ऑल दीज डिफरेंट डिफरेंट थिंग्स दैट आर देयर. जस्ट फोकस ऑन कि आपको क्या स्टॉप्स लेने हैं टिल दिल्ली. And it might be AWS certification, might be becoming better at cloud, it might be becoming better at now large language modeling. So आप वही रूट फॉलो कीजिए.
Now let's talk about जिसकी सबसे ज्यादा hype है in India, IIT से सीधा 4 crore offer. So why do you think people pay a lot by working for quant companies, hedge funds और high trading firms? तो क्या reason क्या है कि इनके पास पैसा ज्यादा है and why they are able to pay more as compared to the man companies? लोग काफी काफी आर्टिकल्स आते हैं, लोग फेसबुक माइक्रोसॉफ्ट छोड़ के इनके पास जा रहे हैं because how lucrative their offers are.
So I think Harnoor, both, well, all the industry is a very cyclical industry. मतलब एक चीज चलेगी फिर it will come down, then it will go up. तो टेक्नोलॉजी का भी ऐसा ही रहा है कि Mang, as you would know, in 2020 and 2021 was paying really good salaries, very competitive salaries, and people were actually moving from even quant research roles into going and doing into data science with Mang. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि वन कंपनी पेज एंड जो एक हम ऑफर की बात करेंगे या दो ऑफर की बात करेंगे, दैट वुड बी एन आउटलायर माने कि इट्स आउटसाइड ऑफ योर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन अ लिटिल बिट, थोड़ा सा दूर है. सो मेजॉरिटी आप अगर बात करेंगे मीडियन की, तो टेक्नोलॉजी एंड फाइनेंस आर ऑलमोस्ट एट पार, at least right now with where we are in the market. And median meaning ki maximum जो जनता है वो, how lucrative it is for them. So I would say it is almost at par. Now why do they pay more? Because number one, it's a very niche skill set. uh, इट्स नॉट कि आप हर किसी को स्टोकेस्टिक कैलकुलस आता होगा, हर किसी को पाइथन प्रोग्रामिंग टू दैट एक्सटेंट आती होगी, हर किसी को सी प्लस प्लस इतना लो लेटेंसी करना आता होगा. सो इट्स अ वेरी नीश स्किल सेट विच इज डिफिकल्ट टू गेट. और उसमें पीएचडीज कर हैं तो अगेन मोर कोर ऑफ कोर, राइट, टॉप ऑफ टॉप. दूसरी चीज ये है कि it is now again quant research, as we were discussing, उसके दो parts हो सकते हैं. You can be either supporting the business or you could be supporting the risk function. अब
Mhm.
business अगर आप support कर रहे हैं and business आप कहीं भी support कर रहे हैं in any of the companies, you will be paid higher. उसका reason ये है कि you are generating revenue for the company, right? The company is in business because of what you are doing. Versus अगर आप cost center में हैं तो कंपनी का काम ऐसे कोई रुक नहीं रहा है, राइट? सो the you are not really making too much money for the company. So I don't know, जैसे कि Wolf of Wall Street हमने देखे, right? And the example that you were giving earlier कि sales जो है, because it's making money for the business, उसकी वजह से business चल रहा है, it's
Yes.
important, it's relevant. And all the quants that are supporting the desks or that are sitting with the business are actually supporting that revenue making or revenue generation for the company. So that's why they are more important, right? They will get a little bit higher chunk of what they produce. So and everything else, let's say जो कि backend है या cost centers हैं, they are relevant, they're important, they जो कर रहे हैं वो important है, but actually revenue makers take the cake. So this is where you will see a little bit difference between the quant salaries even within the organizations, कि आप कौन सा level पे support कर रहे हैं. So definitely, and of course, that example is a little bit outlier, right? ऐसा थोड़ा सा hype तो हो ही जाता है कहीं भी, right? So but median, if I would say, technology and finance almost at par. और जो भी आपका interest है, you should follow that, because you, regardless of wherever you go, if you do well, then you're going to be in the cream of that field.
Absolutely. And जैसे आपने बताया कि research एक ऐसी side है which has like more calculations going, more risk taking into it. तो इस
Yeah.
कारण research, quant research is the job जहाँ पे maximum pay किया जाता है, and then comes the other roles. So it depends on which side you are on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it depends on which side you are on. Quant research, then again, it can be divided into sell side and buy side. So that's a topic for different discussion, right? उसके ऊपर तो एक लंबा discussion हो सकता है कि sell side क्या है, buy side का क्या है, and how do you understand that? So it's a little bit more detailed and a little bit more nuanced conversation. पर हाँ, quant research, quant analyst, quant engineer, similar skill sets are required. And yeah, and you could do well in either of those.
Makes sense. And मैंने जितना सुना है, सिंस दिस जॉब पेज यू अ लॉट एंड डिपेंडिंग ऑन दैट आपके आवर्स भी बहुत ज्यादा होते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल गोल्डमैन सैक्स में एवरेज आवर्स 12 हैं. हाई ट्रेडिंग फर्म्स में भी पीपल स्टे टिल मिडनाइट समटाइम्स इन द ऑफिस. एंड डू यू थिंक देयर इज वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस इन दिस जॉब? एंड काफी लोग एक साल में ही छोड़ जाते हैं. व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट इट?
So Harur, yeah, I think the risk is high and the rewards are higher too, right? So ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आप rewards high चाहिए, but you can't put in the time. So definitely a lot of these roles, I would not say all, but majority of these roles are would require more hours to be put in, and not just doing admin tasks, right? ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ बैठे हुए हैं. They actually require intellectual work for that amount of time, which is 10 to 12 hours, to continue to do that. So I think that's a valid, understanding that the hours can be extremely long. But then, if you enjoy this field, if you enjoy solving problems through mathematics, through quant, through coding, then you start to like the work that you do. And of course, it will not be like कि हमेशा ही 12 घंटे हैं, but majority of times it's going to be long hours, and sometimes you can relax a little bit, but those times would be a little bit less as compared to when you say you are in technology firm. So in technology firm, I would say it's a little bit less more work-life balance, right? A little bit more work-life balance in technology firms as compared to finance firms, of course. So, or exit ऐसा नहीं है कि people exit very very soon. People who love this field, who hold PhDs and who hold degrees like in quant degrees, they actually love this kind of work. And in order to continue to do that kind of work, वही जगह है, right? So that's the only field that they enjoy doing it. So majority of people, I would say, do not quit, but they continue to grow in the field and continue to work through that field. Sometimes, that's just not a good fit. We understand a lot about it, but when we get there, we realize that this is not for me. It's not something I enjoy on a day-to-day basis. And in those cases, people move out. And of course, given the intersection between the skill sets required between a quant finance or a quant analyst with technology, they get into technology roles, right? And do really, really well in technology roles as well. Because skill set काफी कुछ same है. And given that data science is everywhere now, वो skill set भी, it's common now across both of these fields. So yeah, there are longer working hours. The rewards are higher. Um, you get to learn a lot in a very short span of time, which is the key. Matlab, the growth that you can see in next 5 years of your career if you're a quant analyst versus the growth that you see in your career if you're doing anything else, let's say an SDE role, would be completely different. So that's you grow very quickly, and the exit opportunities, again, depending on your interest, on your what do you want to do. You can do a lot of different things. Of course, you can go back to technology, do a little bit easier, right? Easier work-life balance, or you could. A lot of people also join consultancies. A lot of people also just start their own thing or start their own businesses. So that's also pretty common.
एंड क्योंकि दिस इज लाइक अ मिक्स ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग, डेटा साइंस एंड
Yeah,
आल्सो रिसर्च, सो आप कहीं पे भी जा सकते हो. सो एग्जिट
yeah,
स्ट्रैटेजी इज नॉट एज डिफिकल्ट. तो काफी लोग, अगर किसी को पसंद नहीं आ रही, वो जा सकते हैं. एंड लोग ये भी कहते हैं कि व्हेन इट कम्स टू रिसर्च, इट्स लाइक अ मैराथन. सो द आवर्स आर आल्सो लॉन्ग बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव अ सेंस ऑफ अचीवमेंट सून. क्योंकि मैराथन है तो आपको भागते रहना है, भागते रहना है. सो यू डोंट फील लाइक कि यार कि अब खत्म हो गया. एंड द मैराथन कंटिन्यूज एंड यू डोंट feel the sense of achievement till the end. इस कारण मुझे लगता है, I believe that could be the reason why the hours could be long for the researchers.
yeah. So वैसे वो हर जगह रहता है, right? Like even in technology, if you have a big release coming up, तो you are going to be working long hours, of course, right? And the achievement piece would be when you get out with that version 2.0 or that version 3.0. So long stretches हर जगह रहेंगे. Quant research, of course, research is never ending. वो तो आप करते ही जाओ, right? Because things continue to evolve and continue to change so quickly. So that's also one of the factors कि mentally you never switched off. आप एक problem पे काम कर रहे हैं, you come back home, but दिमाग में वही problem पे काम कर रहे हैं, right? So you mentally never switched off. So that's also one of the reasons where people might think कि working hours long है, even when they are back home, that's what is going on in their head.
And now let's get to know about the interview process in this field. And people say कि बहुत rigorous rounds होते हैं because there's a lot at stake and more rewards. So how
Yeah.
does interview process look like?
So along with your CV getting selected for the interview, majority of these roles now also have lead code, right? So lead code is given as like a prereq कि आपको करना ही है. If you interview with a hedge fund or if you interview with an investment bank, so you have to do lead code problems. Now I know lead code has a set of defined problems for bank companies. It has very similar for quant finance roles as well. So that is a playlist that I definitely recommend that you start working on, right? So if you're interviewing with a big bank, you have to start preparing for that interview 6 months in advance. क्योंकि आपको लीड कोड करना है एटलीस्ट 200-250 सवाल, राइट? 200 to 250 questions you have to finish, so that आपको आधा ही घंटा मिलेगा या 45 minutes मिलेंगे to solve two dynamic programming problems. And then if you have not practiced, आप नहीं कर पाएंगे. So that's the key to
So DP is
starting.
the thing. So in terms of, sorry to interrupt again.
Yeah.
Do you think DP, dynamic programming, is the main concept? वो पूछेंगे ही पूछेंगे.
It is one of the major concepts that is definitely in the interview, right? So um, it just enables the interviewer to acknowledge कि आपने ठीक से preparation करी है कि नहीं. Because for interviewer, your preparation is important. That how much effort have you actually put in to get into this role. So that's the key. फिर उसके बाद आपके काफी सारे rounds होंगे, and majority of these rounds would be technical interviews. And technical interviews can be across the board. अगर आप कहेंगे कि you are a very good programmer, so you might be doing a lot of programming interviews, like Google whiteboard interviews, right? Similar to that. अगर आप कहेंगे कि you are a very good at stochastic calculus or numerical methods or statistics, तो उसके technical questions होंगे. So it really depends कि आप कौन से role के लिए interview कर रहे हैं. But programming is the key. Python तो जानना ही जानना चाहिए. And of course, running with databases is also something that definitely people should know or candidates should know. Or technical interviews are very important. So इसमें अगर आपने मास्टर्स नहीं करी है, तो अगर आपको CQF तो कुछ knowledge होना ही चाहिए. And CQF will have a lot of these concepts already. So if you complete your CQF, then you have a high probability of succeeding at the technical rounds of these interviews.
Wow. And आप students को क्या recommend करोगे if someone with just computer science degree wants to get into quant finance, quant research? So which step would you take? CQF, right? Not CFA, right? In this case.
So there are two pathways, right? The first pathway कि आपको इंडिया में ही रह के करना है. So then in that case, because there are not too many good courses, I would recommend दो courses हैं. एक IIT का MTech in computational mathematics भी है. So that's also a very good course. But उसके लिए gate करना पड़ेगा, right? So it's a little bit challenging. Now CQF is the other certification that will give you those concepts. CQF आप अगर अपने resume में लिखेंगे, so resume has a higher probability of getting selected. So अगर आपको इंडिया में ही रहकर करना है, so that is CQF, and or you could do MTech in computational mathematics. Second, आप consider कर सकते हैं कि you want to move abroad, right, for your masters, and you want to work in capital markets in the USA, UK, which are a little bit more mature capital markets. काम करने में भी ज़्यादा मजा आएगा. So if that is the plan, then what you could do, there are again two pathways that you could take. You could prepare your profile for those masters program. And how would you prepare your profile? You could do 2 steps again here, or 3 steps. You could do either CQF, CFA, or FRM. Any of the 3, right? Whichever you pick. Mix it with your MS and CS. So that's a story that you have to tell. And then your work profile has to be work profile is also significantly important. So if you could work in an investment bank, or if you could work let's say even in a small trading company, it might be relevant. And then you can apply to the master's program in the US and then go from that path. So those are the two pathways, right? Depending on where do you want to work. Do you want to work in India or do you want to work abroad, in US or UK? Then that is the path I would take.
वंडरफुल, दैट इज वेरी इन्फॉर्मेटिव, क्योंकि काफी स्टूडेंट्स को पता नहीं चलता है, इतनी ज्यादा ऑप्शंस है. बट थैंक यू फॉर नैरोइंग डाउन. कैन यू प्लीज शेयर व्हाट आर यू लर्निंग नेक्स्ट, बिकॉज यू कंटिन्यू टू इवॉल्व. आपके पास 10 years एक्सपीरियंस है, बट यू नेवर गिव अप इन टर्म्स ऑफ लर्निंग. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक इज द नेक्स्ट कटिंग एज technology coming up, and what do you dream to what do you dream to learn?
Yeah. So definitely, Hanur, I continue to learn more and more about data science. So that is my interest in terms of field. And cloud technologies are great. They're fine. But what I'm more interested in is the predictive modeling side of things. And how can we utilize predictive modeling to bring in into our financial ecosystem, right? So right now, I have focused a lot on pricing models, but also there are other parts to of a bank. So there are parts about fraud detection, right? Or there is parts about trading surveillance, or there are parts about just validating your strategies. So how can you use your data that you have in the bank or wherever in the company, and use these newer technologies, newer predictive modeling techniques to build solutions of the future, right? So that's always like my goal, to continue to build things of the future, because jobs to be done do not change, but how you do it continues to evolve. So that's like my next, what I look forward to and I continue to work on.
Brilliant, because data science is the hype. Because agar aap sare AI tools dekho, ChatGPT,
Yeah,
none, like everyone is talking about it.
yeah.
And what would be your advice to all the students watching? Koi non-tech se dekh raha hai, koi computer science se dekh raha hai. What would be your advice for them who are planning to come into this field?
So it's a long-term game, right? It's a long-term game. It's an infinite game, meaning that you continue to play with yourself. Don't forget your why. Why do you want to do this is important. Why do you want to succeed is important, right? Because initially, when we are young professionals, we are very swayed by titles and compensation, but पर long term में आप क्या करियर बिल्ड करना चाहते हैं, आप क्या लेगेसी छोड़ना चाहते हैं, राइट? व्हाट डू यू वांट टू क्रिएट, एंड हाउ डू यू फाइंड पर्पस? दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, बिकॉज दैट्स वेरी की. क्योंकि आप देखेंगे कि आपके फ्रेंड्स कुछ और कर रहे हैं, फिर और फ्रेंड्स कुछ और कर रहे हैं, एंड देन इफ यू हैव दिस वेवरिंग माइंडसेट, यू विल कंटिन्यू टू क्वेश्चन योर ओन डिसीजंस, कि मैं यहाँ पे आके ठीक किया कि नहीं, आई कुड हैव डन समथिंग एल्स, आई कुड हैव डन दिस, नाउ दिस इज हाइप. सो शुरुआत में प्रिडिक्टिव मॉडलिंग वाज द हाइप, एटलीस्ट स्टिल 4 or 5 years ago. अब लार्ज लैंग्वेज मॉडलिंग और जनरेटिव मॉडलिंग इज द हाइप. 2-3 साल में कुछ और होगा. सो यू कैन नॉट कंटिन्यू टू चेंज डायरेक्शंस एंड कंटिन्यू टू डू सो मेनी थिंग्स. आपको एटलीस्ट 3 चीजें चूज करनी पड़ेंगी, राइट? वन विल बी योर एंकर दैट यू कंटिन्यू टू पुश ऑन. अदर वन वुड बी कि अगर एंकर नहीं चल रहा है, राइट, फॉर सम रीजन बिजनेस इज नॉट मूविंग टूवर्ड्स व्हाट यू आर गुड एट, तो एक कुछ बैकअप होना चाहिए. एंड देन थर्ड मे बी योर इंटरेस्ट. बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, आप 4 और 5 और 6 चीजें ना करें. You focus on one thing and you continue to do it for 6, 7, 8 years, right? And I always tell everybody, right, don't be extreme, just be consistent. So आप एक्सट्रीम स्टेप्स मत लीजिए हर बार, जस्ट एक ही चीज को करते जाइए एंड उसको बेटर करते जाइए. So you will see that you continue to evolve, and 10 years down the line, you will see that you've completely changed from where you were 10 years ago.
या 1% रूल जो बहुत ज्यादा कॉमन है इंडस्ट्री में.
Yeah.
लाइक मेनी कंपनीज हैव made their motto कि 1% every day want to grow, and I think that should be a great principle to follow for all the students.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Shivee. जिनको नहीं पता, she has a wonderful YouTube channel and an Instagram page. That's how I found her, and she makes really informative content. कोई मास्टर्स के लिए आ रहा है या फिर someone wants to get into consulting, CFA or finance, do check her out. And thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge. पता ही नहीं चला 1 hour कैसे चला गया.
Thank you so much for having me, Harnu. Really appreciate it and really love the work that you're doing for the student community. And for those of you who don't know, like, you were the first person I saw study abroad. Where, you were creating great videos and great content for people who just do not know, where what to do and how to go about doing things, but they dream big and they want to pursue their dreams but do not know how to. So thank you for being that beacon of hope, and thank you for helping so many students across the globe with your wonderful videos.
Means a lot. Thank you so much, and it was wonderful talking to you.